chance tonight at 9 o'clock, there's a group of people meeting on the high school track to symbolically finish the last mile of the marathon for runners. So you might be interested in that. Hopefully it will be done by then, because I don't know. But anyways, I'm on the science. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Powell?
Here.
Mr. Pugh?
Present.
Mrs. Sullivan? Present. Mr. Simeone?
Here.
Mr. Weinstein?
Here.
Mrs. Zajac? Mrs. Goldenberg? Here. Mr. Mitchell?
Here. Our first order of business is approval of minutes for the March 12th executive session and special meeting, the March 19th executive session and special regular meeting, and the March 27th executive session and special meeting. May I have such a motion?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or changes? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So votes aye. If anyone has any communications they would like to share, now would be an appropriate time to do so. Otherwise, we will, is anyone going to do any department or superintendent's report of this?
We're going to skip the part that Brian usually does, but we are going to do passion success.
Right, okay, then let's go to that and, middle school. You want to announce your
Good evening.
comes out of the hole.
Good evening. I want to introduce we're going to talk about our Corel Science Fair today. So I want to introduce Ms. Kim Martin. She's in charge of our Corel Science Fair. We did a wonderful job there. She's going to talk a little bit more about it. But we want to recognize the students who succeeded there at the Science Fair.
This is a three-tier process. It starts at WAMS with the science fair, and these were the winners from the science fair at WAMS. Honorable mention, Reeves Balderson, Rachel Wolfram, third place, Andrew Chen, second place, and Sam Lorenzo, first place. All 10 students that participated in the WAMS science fair then went to Corel. At Corel, the top honor of the fair, which is an extremely prestigious award, was received by Reeves Balderson, and this actually was his second year in a row that he received this top honor. Also received second place in engineering. Andrew Chen, first place in medicine and health. Sam Lorenzo, first place in earth and space science. Zach Miller, second place in behavioral and social sciences. Anais Maslin, honorable mention in behavioral and social sciences. And Carly Peterson, honorable mention in biochemistry. The other students that participated in Corel were Ganesh Pentapalli, Juliana Trisciani, Ingrid Thone, and Rachel Wolfram. The students then got that first, second, or third place were then allowed to go to Delaware Valley Science Fair. And because it was during spring break, two of the students that were eligible to go, Reeves Balderson and Andrew Chen, were unable to make it. The two that did go, Sam Lorenzo and Zach Miller, received first place in both of their fields, along with the Broadcom Masters Middle School Special Award. They spent 3 months working on these projects. A lot of independent time, a lot of time with me, and I'm just so proud of them. So I'd like them to come up.
children enter in both categories. And this year we have 4 winners. I see 2 of them in the audience tonight. I'm going to announce everyone, and then at the end, all the winners who are here can come up and join me. First of all, in the kindergarten to 2nd grade division for art, Nadia Procaccini won 3rd place in the state of New Jersey. Congratulations, Nadia. And in the 3rd to 5th grade division, Maggie Wang won 2nd place in the state for her artwork. In the kindergarten to 2nd grade writing contest, Alicia Desai won honorable mention. Alicia's one of our 1st graders. And in the 3rd to 5th grade division, Brian Muhick also won honorable mention, and he is one of our 3rd graders. So if those 4 students could come up and join me, I see 2 of them.
I got a couple good ones.
Physical education at the high school level. We had a very long discussion. Mr.
Seibel gave us his thoughts as to whether or not something should be implemented at the high school level to permit those students who are participating in athletics throughout the course of the year outside of school, whether or not that should count for their athletics within the school district. We're going to continue to collect information on this. Some districts have gone to an option 2. Many districts have not. We've been discussing the various factors as to whether or not it would be a good thing for us to do here in Moorestown. One of our concerns is that in opening up an option 2 to athletics, permitting people to not have to take the gym during the day, that it may give them an advantage to take additional academic classes and thereby impact other students within the district who might not otherwise be able to opt out. So we're going to continue to have that discussion. We also had discussion that went on to our concussion policy. We have concussion procedures in place, but we don't have an overriding policy in place. We received input from the high school on policy, making sure that the policy doesn't actually have conflicting provisions in it as to what is in our current procedures. We feel comfortable when we're moving forward with that policy at the next board meeting. We also have a policy that we reviewed, which is going to be up for first reading at the next meeting regarding the recording of the board meetings, making sure that the recordings don't interfere with the general audience or with the flow of the meetings themselves. This is something that a lot of districts have put in place. We have not, but given that we are now having people wanting to come record our meetings, that we want to make sure that we do have policies and procedures in place so that everybody feels comfortable with the meetings while the recordings are going on. And finally, the last thing we discussed was how we're going to solicit community input between first and second reading. The board has approved as of last meeting that our new policies were going in place after 2 readings. So we wanted to make sure that we've had discussion, make sure that in between first and second reading we would get any input that we normally would have gotten between second and third reading. Between first and second, Mr. Betts felt comfortable that he would be able to solicit information between first and second reading, and if we needed to, we also would like, which we've done in the past, to table a policy until we felt we got sufficient input from the community. And that's the end of my report.
Questions for Mr. Wise? Curriculum Committee, Mr. Senior.
Thank you, Mr. Mishler. The Curriculum Committee has not met since our last board meeting. We will be meeting this Friday, the 19th, and I will report on the results of that meeting at our next board meeting on the 21st. Thank you.
Operations and Facilities is me. We met on March 27th. The committee now consists of myself, Mr. Simeone, Mr. Pugh, and Mr. O'Sullivan. First order of business is we were talking about additional security cameras in certain key areas, and that led to a larger discussion about security, and as we talked before, potential for a referendum sometime in our future to provide the funds to make certain improvements. And I think the committee was uniform in its thoughts about making sure that we take a common sense approach to security. There isn't a way to protect all of us and our facilities from every threat that we could possibly imagine, but we can, with certain improvements, which would include things like the vestibules and our doors and our visitor management systems, we could improve our security to a very significant level. There's a couple things on the agenda tonight. We'll get to
March 25th, we had several things that we went through. One of them, for example, is the fitness center. We discussed a possible fitness center with Mr. Matt Keith. He came and spoke to our committee about converting an area to a fitness center, and he's in the process of receiving different estimates from architects and he'll come back with further information. We discussed bank fees and NSF charges that the district now receives. The bank had started charging the district bank fees, and the district will need to pass these non-sufficient charges back onto the parents, or insufficient charges back onto the parents when necessary. In the past, the district was given a pass by the bank, and we did not have to pay fees, but now we do, and it's increased dramatically our expenses in taking checks, so it's something that we're going to recommend that we get in touch with parents when they give checks, and if they're insufficient, that they will be responsible for the charge. We talked about codicils, potential codicils for stipend positions, and we decided to recommend some of them, and I'm sure that that will be forthcoming. We talked about getting an interim IT individual to help with the workload, and to date, I believe we've hired someone, and they're going to be helping do some of the jobs that need to be done, whether it's printer, cartridge changing, projectors, etc. So that should help. We talked about the technology restructuring budget with Mrs. Butler, Carol Butler, and what we intend to do in terms of making sure that we have the budget possible so that we can build this throughout the district. And we, I don't want to really cut into Mr. Powell's discussion of technology, so I'll let him talk about what we're doing. We just made sure that we had the finances to do it, and he'll be forthcoming in a moment with what we hope to do. And then, of course, we talked more so about the budget and the finalization of the numbers for our public hearing. And so we discussed that at length. And our next meeting, I believe, is Monday, April 22nd.
Mr. Powell, Technology Committee.
Thank you. Since our last board meeting, in addition to the regularly scheduled tech committee meeting, there was also a cross-committee meeting that included members of the tech committee, budget and finance, curriculum, buildings and grounds, with special emphasis placed on planning technology initiatives aligned with curriculum needs, which is a subject we've been talking quite a bit about in the past few board meetings. Some of the highlights of those combined activities in the tech committee meeting as well are as follows. Goals presented by administration. Beyond the state's minimum template for educational technology, and a revised matrix of computer and information literacy that prescribes basic skills, tools, and the application of productivity tools on a grade-by-grade basis from K through 12. In support of these initiatives, our objectives, significant investments in infrastructure, teacher and student-facing technology, and some additional human resources were identified, and as Ms. Goldberg mentioned, ultimately incorporated into the 2013-14 budget. Purchase and deployment of 200 plus devices for use by grade 7 through 12 teachers was factors such as internet access outside the classroom and access to a computer device are examples of factors that we will need to address. A year one objective was also established to reduce the number of printers in the district from today's count of more than 590, a ratio of more than 2 for every classroom to a maximum of 1 per classroom in the coming year, and to target further consolidation in the future. Now, while the highlights presented tonight are not exhaustive, there are many more. They are representative of the extent to which we will leverage technology to extend and deliver education in the future. The one thing I am pleased with is that we've moved over the course of the year from a siloed discussion on what technologies we should acquire to, I think, a more evolved discussion focused on curricular needs driving technology needs. This is not a trivial movement, but one that we must continue to promote and, in fact, accelerate. And finally, a bit of an editorial discussion broader than even how technology can help achieve curricular goals also needs to take place in a more robust fashion. We as a district, in my view, need to be much more specific in our vision and how we measure progress against its attainment. We must answer the question where we want to be in 3 to 5 years, and obviously how will we know we have arrived. In my mind, Moorestown should strive to be the preeminent school district in the state, period, regardless of the circumstances. We must measure ourselves against our peers, be accountable, and provide complete transparency to our community. Our yardsticks must be clear. We must, for example, achieve, we've been talking about this matrix of skills, 100% attainment against the matrix that we, in fact, have developed of computer and information literacy that I discussed earlier. We should establish goals for performance as measured by tests such as SATs, ASK scores, and/or other measures identified by our teaching staff, administration, and of course, many more that are now being proven at the state level. In short, we should strive to be the best, be clear in what defines being the best, and measure our progress against this vision for the district and for every individual student. This will drive curricular needs and programs, which will in turn drive our approach to technology acquisition and deployment.
Questions? Board advisory, committee reports, township rec, Mr. Simeon.
Thank you, Mr. Mishler. The Township Rec Advisory Committee did not meet this month due to conflicts and schedules, but we'll meet next month, and I will report at that time.
Okay, and, more arts, Mr. Powell.
Yes. So there was a More Arts meeting in the last board meeting this. A couple of notes. First, the More Arts Scholarship application deadline has been extended. More Arts 2013 scholarship application was extended Friday, April the 19th, so it's coming up. More Arts awards numerous scholarships to Moorestown High graduating seniors who excel in fine and performing arts, including arts production. Please visit the website if anybody is interested in getting the deadline. Also, master class workshops. And More Arts is offering 2 master class workshops, one in theatrical performance and audition preparation, and the other in dance, and will be held on April the 28th at Moorestown High School. Theater professionals Mark G. Gallio and Brian Gravel, the director and choreographer of EVITA, will deliver the workshops. Participants may take one or both classes. The More Arts website has additional information as well as registration forms. Acapella for Autism. More Arts has agreed to be a sponsor for the Moorestown High School Interact Club's Acapella for Autism concert, an interscholastic acapella concert and competition to raise money for autism awareness. The concert will be held at the high school auditorium on Saturday, April 27th at 7 p.m. Open auditions. More Arts will hold open auditions for the summer musical EVITA on the evening of Friday, May 3rd, and Saturday, May 4th at Moorestown High School. Addition details are on the More Arts website as well. And finally, More Arts will be supporting the Moorestown High School student art exhibit to be held on May the 2nd in the MHS Media Center prior to Moorestown High School spring vocal concert.
swing. They're getting ready for Her Goes to School and Fitness Fridays at the UES, and music tributes at Baker and Roberts, field days, and the end of the year dance at WAMS. Also, they've had a very successful fundraising year, and they've raised over $100,000. And I believe the president just texted me that home school is sponsoring an a cappella group as well. And
No, the acapella for autism, I'm sorry, we're sponsoring that.
okay, thank you. Good to know. Forgot. Thank you. So homeschool's really helping out our students, and we're very grateful to everything they do and provide for us. They're also looking forward to following up with us about a possible initiative and funding for that, so more information will follow. As far as the Garden State Coalition of Schools, we had a wonderful meeting. I was joined by Brandon Pugh and Cheryl Salwin and Mr. Betts, and we all went to a spring leadership conference that the Garden State Coalition of Schools and the New Jersey School Development Council jointly presented at Rutgers on Wednesday, April 10th. It was pretty much the full day, and the types of things that they went over were the report. The program was about the report of the State Budget Crisis Task Force, and that was presented by Richard Keevy. And it was a panel discussion also about teacher evaluation implementations, the issues, the concerns, clarifications, and that was moderated by John Mooney. And it was very interesting because obviously there are a lot of concerns on every level about how these evaluations will be done, processed, scored, and what the outcome will be for teachers across the state, and also for principals, because one of the things that they're doing, based on how student achievement goes and the growth of our students and how that's documented, principals are also going to be evaluated on the success of this. So we talked about it on a lot of different levels. One of the things that they discussed from the beginning with the state budget crisis is that we have in the state of New Jersey right now a 9.5% unemployment rate. And the major problems that are facing the state government of New Jersey are also hitting California, Texas, New York, Illinois, but New Jersey has the highest property taxes in the country. So they were trying to make decisions and try to make recommendations what should be done in this economic climate, and how frustrating it is for obviously public schools and to get money for education when everything's being siphoned away. They talked about the revenue erosion and the volatility. They talked about the fact that New Jersey has never had a deficit based on modified accrual basis of accounting except for the funding of pensions. They talked about the constant budgetary pressures of education and Medicaid and the retirement cost, and that there is an inability for that to be rectified as of yet. They talked about that New Jersey has a very strong governor's office due to the veto power of the governor, and that even though the New Jersey economy is improving at this time, according to indicators, that they're very cautious because they don't believe that the employment levels will get back to what they were in 2007 until the year 2016. So they spoke about that. They spoke about 64% of the revenue in New Jersey comes from income tax and sales tax, and that New Jersey has lately underfunded its pension systems, and that the health benefits and the pension costs are difficult choices about priorities for the government. And that New Jersey is not alone in this problem in the country. However, we're in the very bottom quadrant of economic problems for this. They talked about that the most of the money within a township comes from a small group of people, and that even though in New Jersey food and clothing is not taxed, but they think that something we should look at in the future in New Jersey is capturing the taxation from internet sales, because that would bring a lot of revenue, which would help us. They talked about constantly changing tax base impacts corporate taxes, creating dedicated funds such as unemployment, disability benefits, etc. They talked about changing payment dates, perhaps selling a road as they do often in northern New Jersey. They talked about issuing long-term debts like the pension system and the tobacco system, and that New Jersey depends on our federal budget, and in 2013 the budget was $12 billion in aid, but if New Jersey faced a 10% reduction, that'd be $1.2 billion. So it just went all into how difficult it is because school construction debt was not voted on, building authority appropriated debt, the same thing with transportation debt, and the infrastructure needs that New Jersey has, and then the needs that Sandy created, and of course transportation and education costs. So it was all about the problems and how nursing homes also get their funding from the state, but that's been diminished, and Medicaid has gone to $6 billion from $12 billion from the year 2000 now to 2012, and it's a very, they're looking at Obamacare and what that will mean for the state, and he had lots of recommendations, and we'll see if any of them get taken. But most of it is to review state and local spending structures, monitor and control retirement health benefits, provide funding for pension systems, things like that. So I'd say it was a very interesting meeting, and if it wasn't enlightening, then you missed the boat. But it was a little depressing because we all have needs and there isn't enough funding to go around, but they're looking at ways to do more with what we have. So that was the crux of the meeting, and how the evaluation systems play into that, of course, gives undue pressure, so to speak, for the districts. So that's my report from Garden State.
Any questions?
Just want to make sure I heard something correctly. Did you say, but for the fact that we have a $47 billion unfunded pension liability, New Jersey's been able to have balanced budgets?
No, I think you misunderstood it. Let me
I'm
go
just
back
making
to
sure
that.
that I was
Because I took a lot of minutes, David. No, David, I don't believe that's the correct one.
I just looked up $47.2 billion without some unfunded pension liability.
With pension unfunded.
Unfunded pension, $47.2 billion, and that's up from 36.2 2 years ago.
I don't think that includes the healthcare part as well.
Yeah, I just looked it up and just pulled that.
They're saying that all those things should have been taken into account, and the fact that it isn't is really causing New Jersey to be quite a fix.
Yeah, every state's that way, and that unfunded pension liabilities, reason why most states are in point now where they no longer have AA or AAA paper, they have B paper, and the same reason why many your local governments and states where the local governments take on the pension liability file for bankruptcy.
They did say, though, that New Jersey's in the bottom quadrant for what we face economically. So, any other questions? And I want to thank Brandon and Cheryl for attending. It's very nice to have company.
Thank you for coming out this evening. If you'd like to address the board, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. Ask you to come to the mic. Yes, ma'am.
I'm putting my pen in my purse. No.
You can give it back.
Can't take it back. No take back.
It's like an anchor.
It's like, now, 25 years, I don't know, I took a pen or. Okay, no. But, we're here tonight to discuss several concerns about the budget that's been passed for the 2013-2014 school year. The most insidious effect of this budget is that it ties the hands of all future boards of education as to how much money that can be generated in order to fund schools. When the board did not share responsibility of the board to make decisions in terms of educational welfare of our children, and decreasing the amount of money available to educate future generations of Moorstonians is not really in their best interest at all.
If you want to name and address, Cricket Dabber, 310 on Sandwich Road. I believe there's been some misinformation that's been stated for several months now about the school-age population decreasing, and that it will continue to decrease. Our numbers, despite that extensive demographic study that was done and paid for by our taxpayers' money, are not going down. There are, in fact, 2 new developments being built in Moorestown, and I've heard from a very reliable source that another men's housing complex is going to be built as well, I believe in the South Valley area. Also, I'm wondering what is being done to generate revenue. There's been a lot of talk in September and October about how this is necessary. I believe we hired a company to do this last year for us, yet I haven't seen any of that type of revenue generating at all. I'd like to know, not only as a teacher, but as a taxpayer, what's going on with that? Because I thought we paid a company to look into that. Also, I too believe that this budget should have went to CAP. Other districts, as well as going to CAP, have put signs on buses, signs on athletic fields. They have a pay-to-play system that I think would be wonderful, considering sports is one of our top priorities here. And the budget just keeps getting smaller and smaller for more and more children. I know also that real estate is starting to turn around.
follow the process as we had in the past, with the exception that the whole big process of voting on the budget, not voting on the budget, is obviously changed. So.
So going back many years, I don't ever recall the budget being decreased by this amount unless the budget failed by a vote, which we no longer have.
I don't believe that's true. So we disagree about that. Thank you.
Well, I think there's a way to go back and see if that's accurate, which I will do. So I have that information to see if it went down, which, again, over the 22 years I've been here, I don't recall that happening. It may have fluctuated slightly. It also may have gone up slightly.
Yeah.
So,
The point is it changed.
and if that did happen, I believe that the public was informed of what was going on, not the day of the act, or the day before the budget was to be submitted. With the whole point is that the impact of it couldn't be fully researched, so people who came to the budget forms and read what was printed were in the full belief that this was the budget that was going forward. That's disingenuous to have two meetings for public comment where the budget is the same, and then the day before that it's submitted, it's changed drastically. I'm not talking like a 0.02%. That's different than going from 1.16 to 0.46. That's a drastic, and I will do the homework. I'll get the figures and figure out how it has changed. But that's the point, that is not the information that the public got and went into the whole process thinking was going to happen. Now, some of that money came from excess surplus, but where did the rest of the money come from? Between the public forums and the final budget, there were some changes made, both on the revenue and the expenditure side. We made some changes. We did appropriate additional fund balance. We also changed some of our miscellaneous revenue projections that had to do with some of the other things that we had going on, like kindergarten, highly backed off on some of those revenue projections, just to give us a little bit of a cushion. On the expenditure side, we took another look at our lease purchase allotment and what we needed to make those payments. We looked at some of our supply lines, we looked at some of our salary lines, and we made adjustments accordingly to just, financially kind of redistribute some of those funds and in essence be able to reduce the tax levy, but not make a real impact in any one particular area or any one particular category. Well, for this year. Correct. Right, for this year. So among the things you said, there was money that had been previously budgeted for either positions and or salaries. That's where you took some of the money from. Pretty much throughout the whole budget. Some was taken out of supply line, some was taken out of these purchase payments, and some was taken out of salaries. Okay, so supplies would be supplies for students, would be supplies for school. Throughout the district. Could be classroom items, it could be, administrative items, or, anything throughout the school. Okay, and so when the budget is lowered, it also lowers the amount that can be generated on the budget for the following year. Correct? If you lower the tax, well, if you're talking in terms of tax levy. Well, it's just, the tax levy is the amount of money that could possibly be generated. Well, we have other forms of revenue that make up the revenue side, but if you're talking in terms of tax levy and tax cap, you're held to the 2% cap. So whatever
maintain the public schools. That's what it says. Now, in conclusion, I've heard the word transparency a few times tonight. I've also heard measure up more than once. I've heard measure up to our peers. So, we do measure up. We do strive to be the best, which is reflected in various ways that we are measured. And not only by some fantastical formula that someone in the state came up with, on a whim, perhaps, on any given day, which they publish on any given day, without telling anyone how they're doing it. If that's the epitome of stupidity and statistics, I don't know, what else. However, in the statistics and in the facts that matter, like who takes care of your kids, who stays after school extra with your kids, who comes in early to be with your kids, who waits with them when no one picks them up, they're all things that aren't measured here. Who spends their lunches with them? Who spends their prep time with them? Who does all of the things that make a difference in our district? They're the things that aren't measured here, and they never will be. So there's never a little column for that, who goes the extra mile. That doesn't show up anywhere. But we know that, and anyone who has had a child go through the schools, they know that.
What measurement, you're pointing to, what measurement device are you talking about?
The previous meeting, the one that the state just came out with.
Okay, well, I'm not sure everybody knows
Oh,
that.
they know.
Yeah.
They know. However, how we are measured can and is and will be reflected in how the board budgets to be able for us to measure up according to other things. So, if there's a board that does not budget to develop and maintain our public schools, things will start to change, like they have in several other communities in South Jersey. So in order to be the best, measure up, maintain the best, all parties must work together to achieve it.
I'm happy to hear that you're answering questions, so I'm hoping that you could answer the question about how we are generating revenue, because we did seek some help from an outside company.
Yeah, that turned out to be pretty unsuccessful, although it's still an ongoing effort. We're going to keep after that. We have some other possibilities, but that particular effort hasn't generated anything. That's the absolute truth. Are we disappointed about it? Absolutely. Have they generated anything for any other school districts? Well, they're starting to, but it hasn't reached us yet. That's the answer.
Well, how about on our own? Have we talked about or considered signs on athletic fields? I mean, easy things to do.
Well, the answer to
Pay
that
to
is...
play. I mean, other districts are doing it.
Right, we decided not to do it this year. While we have it on the books, it's probably something that's likely for next year.
Signs on athletic fields, not an easy thing to take a look at. And
Well, we
do.
had a proposal for signage, and the township declined to allow us to put the signs where the people who wanted to pay for them wanted to put them. But from the athletic field standpoint, I'm not familiar with any effort. No.
Any effort on,
By anyone sitting here to realize revenue.
well, there's a suggestion. Like where other districts do it.
Sure, I understand. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Janet Skarbek-Adair. I have a daughter in high school, a son in the UES, and we are blessed with another one who will be coming up through kindergarten in about 2 years. So, want to wait for it, I don't know if you guys did that, but changing the subjects here for a second. A letter came out from the superintendent yesterday that's about safety. And it talks about Moorestown prides itself as an open and cooperative school district supported by our parents. However, times have changed, and securing our buildings is of paramount importance. with sneakers, books, lunches, etc. at home. Refrain from coming to school to drop it off. And then the fourth one is, please refrain from having lunch in the cafeteria with your child. Practice will no longer be supported. Now, I think there's a point where we want security for our children. We want them, but we don't want fear to take over and become obsessed with it. You know, when my daughter and son were coming up from Mary Roberts, there was a little time period where we had one principal who had a few turnovers there. And we had one who decided, no more school lunches. You can't come in and have it with your child anymore. And the atmosphere in the school just changed significantly during that time period. And that person went out, and all of a sudden it was like a breath of fresh air. Parents were allowed in again. Now there's something we can do as adorers. If there's too many people coming through at a time, there are management procedures, different things we can put into place. But the idea of saying, you can't drop off sneakers anymore, you can't drop off the books, I can't bring up a lunch on a birthday, is really just being obsessive and going a little bit overboard. So I just wanted to bring that up because this letter came out yesterday, and it was shocking to me, and it was shocking to my friends. We're on the bus stop, and all of us are standing around like, oh my God, this is just a little bit overboard. So to call your attention to it, to think about it, and to think about, we want our kids to be safe. No doubt we want our kids to be safe. But do it in a way that isn't stepping over into fear. Because, for example, with the terrorists, which is not probably what this is about, but at the same time, they win if fear comes in and we lose our rights. So yes, we want safety in there, we want procedures, but not to the point where we are losing what makes Moorestown special, which is lunches and that interaction with teachers and the atmosphere of coming in and having that warm, friendly smile from the receptionist. So we need to really balance it. So I just wanted to leave that out there. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Okay, then we'll move on. Thank you. Mrs. Sugars, business administrator.
For your approval, we have the financial reports of the Board Secretary from February 2013, the Treasurer's report from February of 2013, reviewed the file codes listed as attached exhibit and recommend that the policies and regulations be adopted on the third reading. This is the last series of policies we'll be doing 3 readings for. From now on, our policies will have 2 readings, as Mr. Weinstein mentioned earlier. I recommend that the board adopt on third reading attached as exhibit 13-231, policy 8505 school nutrition, policy 3230 outside activities, and policy 4230 outside activities.
So moved. Second.
Questions on each of these policies? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Powell?
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Pugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Solomon?
Yes.
Mr. Simeon?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Goldenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Burlington County Alternative High School Placements. I recommend that the board approve the student on exhibit 13-232 for the 2013-2012 nations for the 2012-13 school year as listed in exhibit 13-235.
So moved.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do you have an idea of approximately how many students is impacted? Because I know it's listed under 7th and 8th grade students. Is it a small percentage of the grade, or is it entire grade?
So the field trip to Drexel,
It is a very small percentage.
That's
Yes. It's a group that is being taken, it's our robotics. Which is small.
You said 60.
Thank you.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Privileged.
Travel expenditure approval request. I recommend that the board approve the travel expenditure request attached as exhibit 13-236. Single item for trip to Wayne. Is that the only item on the?
That's the only one on there.
I'm sorry,
Just
then
the-
let's table the whole thing. Sorry about that.
Is there no one? I thought it was that.
No, there's not a,
I'm sorry, there is one on the addendum.
Oh.
It was a late submission. This is actually for one of our private schools. We actually do funding, that's why we have to.
so let's deal with the addendum one. But this one's being pulled.
Yes,
Okay, we'll come back.
okay. The ground services agreement, a resolution is requested approving the addendum to the Brickman contract attached as exhibit 13-237, extending the contract for 2013-14 and 2014-15 school years.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Residency determination, a resolution is requested approving the recommendations of the residency committee as per attached exhibit 13-238.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Privileged. Now we'll move to the addendum.
So, first item on the addendum,
Yes, okay, go ahead.
is the travel expenditure approval request. Recommend the board approve the travel expenditure request attached as exhibit 13-248.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? And this is for a teacher at OLPC?
Yes. The district is not paying for it, the grant funding is paying for it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Privileged. Aye.
2014 senior class trip, the Operations and Facilities Committee has reviewed and recommends approval of the following trip. I recommend the board approve the 2014 senior trip on March 18th to the 22nd, 2014, as per exhibit 13-249.
So moved.
Second. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Privileged.
I recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved by the Moorestown Township Board of Education to adopt and approve a settlement agreement between student number 8260027 and the Moorestown Township Board of Education attached as exhibit 13-250.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Trying to hold that off now.
You waited at the perfect moment.